Whispers and Lies by Joy Fielding. Read by Laura Hicks.
Chapter 1. She said her name was Alison Simms. The name tumbled slowly, almost languorously from her lips, the way honey slides from the blade of a knife. Her voice was soft, tentative, slightly girlish, although her handshake was firm, and she looked me straight in the eye. I liked that. I liked her, I decided, almost on the spot, although I'm the first to admit that I'm not always the best judge of character. Still, my first impression of the amazingly tall young woman with the shoulder-length strawberry blonde curls who stood tightly clasping my hand in the living room of my small two-bedroom home was positive. And first impressions are lasting impressions, as my mother used to say. "This is a real pretty house," Alison said, her head nodding up and down, as if agreeing with her own assessment, her eyes darting appreciatively between the overstuffed sofa and the two delicate Queen Anne chairs, the cushioned valances framing the windows, and the sculpted area rug lying across the light hardwood floor. "I love pink and mauve together. It's my favorite color combination." Then she smiled, this enormous, wide, slightly goofy smile that made me want to smile right back. "I always wanted a pink and mauve wedding." I had to laugh. It seemed such a wonderfully strange thing to say to someone you just met. She laughed with me, and I motioned toward the sofa for her to sit down. She immediately sank into the deep, down-filled cushions, her blue sundress all but disappearing inside the swirl of pink and mauve fabric flowers, and crossed one long, skinny leg over the other, the rest of her body folding itself artfully around her knees as she leaned toward me. I perched on the edge of the striped Queen Anne chair directly across from her, thinking that she reminded me of a pretty pink flamingo. A real one, not one of those awful plastic things you see stabbed into people's front lawns. "You're very tall," I commented lamely, thinking she'd probably heard that remark all her life. 5 feet 10 inches, she acknowledged graciously. "I look taller." "Yes, you do," I agreed. Although at barely 5 feet 4 inches, everyone looks tall to me. "Do you mind my asking how old you are?" 28. A slight blush suddenly scraped her cheeks. "I look younger." "Yes, you do," I said again. "You're lucky. I've always looked my age." "How old are you? That is, if you don't mind." "Take a guess." The sudden intensity of her gaze caught me off guard. She scrutinized me as if I were an exotic specimen in a lab, trapped between two tiny pieces of glass under an invisible microscope. Her clear green eyes burrowed into my tired brown ones, then moved across my face, examining each telltale line, weighing the evidence of my years. I have few illusions. I saw myself exactly the way I knew she must, a reasonably attractive woman with good cheekbones, large breasts, and a bad haircut. "I don't know," she said. 40? "Exactly." I laughed. "Told you." We fell silent, frozen in the warmth of the afternoon sun that surrounded us like a spotlight, highlighting small flecks of dust that danced in the air between us like hundreds of tiny insects. She smiled, folded her hands together in her lap, the fingers of one hand playing carelessly with the fingers of the other. She wore no rings of any kind and no polish, although her nails were long and cared for. I could tell she was nervous. She wanted me to like her. "Did you have any trouble finding the house?" I asked. "No. Your directions were great. East on Atlantic, south on 7th Avenue past the White Church, between 2nd and 3rd Street. No problem at all. Except for the traffic. I didn't realize that Delray was such a busy place." "Well, it's November," I reminded her. "The snowbirds are starting to arrive."